Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Raising the New Earth podcast. I'm your host, Noah Dory, and today we are diving into a topic that I think is more relevant than ever, and it's definitely something that I see with my children and something that I see with the children that I take care of in my clinic. So, raising emotionally resilient children in a world that feels increasingly fast paced and uncertain is crucial to help the child navigate through life's inevitable ups and downs with grace and strength. As parents, educators, clinicians, caregivers, we want to equip our children with the tools that they need in order to bounce back from challenges and manage their emotions and ultimately thrive. I see it in my clinic all the time. I see kids and young adults that just don't know how to deal with failure and don't know how to bounce back from a simple no, whether it be a job decline or a breakup of a potential um, suitor. And I found it to be really important. And I remember watching my child face their first failure. And whether it's a bad grade, a tough social situation, whatever outcome that they wanted to be different, or just feeling overwhelmed, and realizing that how we as parents respond to these moments is key. Yes, we want to shower our child with as much love and protection as we can, but at the same token, we have the power to help them build resilience or to unknowingly add more pressure on the other hand. So today I'll be sharing science-backed strategies, insights from brain health experts like Dr. Danielle Amen and Dr. Zach Bush, and share practical tips on how we can all implement the emotional resilience tools in our children. So let's jump right in. So, first, let's define what it means to be emotionally resilient. So, simply put, emotional resilience is the ability to bounce back from life's challenges. Again, whether it's a bad day at school, a fight with a friend, or something more serious like moving to a new city or dealing with family stresses and struggles. This is the capability and capacity to manage difficult emotions and adapt to change without being overwhelmed by the stress that it brings. Why is this so important? Well, resilient children are better equipped to handle stress, adapt to change, and solve problems effectively. Now, that doesn't mean that they don't feel the hurt, that they don't feel the sadness, that they don't feel the stress. They do. They acknowledge it, but they have the tools to let that emotion pass through them without getting stuck to a point where it's a trapped emotion and something that we may need to fix with a therapist later on in life. That is the difference. And studies do show that children who develop emotional resilience are not only happier and more confident, but they also perform better academically and have healthier social relationships. With my children, when they come back home after a long day or an exhausting day or something happened at school or whatnot, I remind them that they have two voices they can listen to. They can listen to their ego or they can listen to their soul. That's how I like to define it. In Kabbalah, they use the word Satan, which is basically the ego. Like, which voice are you listening to? And I remind them that the voice that they hear that is louder is most likely the voice of their ego. Now, ego on its own, it stands for everybody's got one. It can be a good thing. It can be that thing that motivates you to success, that thing that puts fire under your tush and makes you keep going, right? But in scenarios like I hear this really loud voice telling me I'm a loser, I'm hearing this really loud voice telling me my life is not worth anything. In situations like that, that is absolutely the narrative of the negative side trying to put us down. So I always tell my children, Listen to that whisper in your heart. That little whisper is your soul. This is your guardian angel. This is the whisper of from the divine telling you, keep going. Just keep going. You can do it. Keep going, keep going, keep going. Okay. So that's just the personal story. Let's talk a little bit about the brain. So emotional resilience is deeply, deeply connected to the brain's ability to regulate those emotions. Dr. Daniel Amen and all his research on brain scans, SPECT brain scans, highlights how certain areas of the brain, such as prefrontal cortex and the amygdala, play a major role in our emotional response. When children practice resilience, and basically when we give children tools to deal with stresses in life, they are literally rewriting their brains for more emotional flexibility, capacity, and mental toughness. Again, that doesn't mean that they avoid the emotions, but they recognize it, they let it pass through and replace it with a better one. So here's a fascinating insight. According to my mentor, Dr. Zach Bush, exposure to nature, fresh air, sunlight, and the elements help reset our nervous system and promotes emotional balance. From the birds that are singing, that releases serotonin in our brain, to being surrounded by trees and the chemicals that they release for us to feel more calm. There is an absolute intrinsic connection between mental resilience and our environment. So, something that I always tell my children and I tell my clients as well: step outside, go to nature, put your feet in the grass, go for a hike. They're adults, take your best friend on a hike. Cultivate this resilience in our children through ways that we have experienced, through ways that we trust. So let's break down some of those tools that I mentioned, practical tools that you can start doing today. So now that we understand the importance of resilience, when we dive into some actionable strategies, you can actually start fostering this in you and in your children. So first up is teaching emotional regulation. Kids need practical tools to manage their emotions. And again, unregulated parent will have unregulated child. Regulated parent will have regulated child. Meaning, when we have taken that journey in finding the regulation in our nervous system as parents, you will see your child will change as well. So this is an important side note for the work that we have to do as parents, right? Okay, so one of the simplest but most powerful techniques is deep breathing. When a child is upset, you can just have them take slow, deep breaths and calm their nervous system, and gives them a moment to think before they react, right? You can try exercises like having them breathe in like they're smelling a flower and breathe out like they're blowing out a candle. And as simple as it sounds, it really, really, really works. It works wonders. And I've seen it firsthand with my own children. There was a time when they were so frustrated after losing a game at school, was actually losing a game and then losing a competition. So instead of reacting emotionally, throwing themselves on the floor and crying, we practiced some deep breaths together. And within minutes, the storm had passed. So we can then talk about what happened and come to better conclusions. And these are the moments that we help build the emotional resilience in our children and helping them realize that they have a power over their emotions and they can actually manage their emotions instead of being overwhelmed by them is not just a moment of brilliance and transition to them, but also for us as parents. Second strategy, like we mentioned before, is modeling resilience as parents. Children learn so much by watching us. So if you can stay calm and respond constructively to stress, they'll naturally begin to mirror that behavior. This doesn't mean you have to be the perfect parent, far from it. In fact, showing your child how you can handle mistakes and setbacks in a healthy way is a huge teaching moment. So even if you do get upset, you can say, this didn't go as planned, but I'm going to fix it. right? And if you do get an outburst of reactivity, you can say, you know what, I messed up. I realized that I let the ego take over my emotions. In reality, I can take a few breaths and calm myself down. I will do better and I am going to do better. So them seeing you acknowledging a failure or acknowledging a less than a perfect reaction is also very, very helpful. Which brings us to another key tool, which is open communication. We want to encourage our kids to express their emotions freely without judgment. And for me, this is the hardest thing because I do want them to be able to fix their emotions. But when a child comes to you with a problem, instead of immediately offering solutions, like, I'm to blame, I'm actually doing that, we need to try validate their emotions first. Say something like, I can see that this made you really, really upset. And this shows them that their emotions are valid and it's okay to feel sad, frustrated, or angry. And then you can say, do you want to talk about it? Or what can I do to help you? Dr. Zach Bush emphasizes the role of nature in emotional regulation, like we talked about before. Getting outside for even just a few minutes of fresh air can do wonders for a child's mood. I remember when my children were just infants and they used to cry, I just took them outside in the stroller. I put them outside in the stroller and like a magic spell, it worked wonders. They just stopped crying. So there is, it's honestly miraculous. So even till this day, if a child has a tough day, I say just step outside, go on the trampoline or go outside. So have them take a little walk, climb the tree, jump on the trampoline, or simply sit in the grass with them. It helps them reset for so many reasons. And it can shift their perspective on the problem at hand. And it can actually shift your perspective while you're in nature talking to your child. So, teaching emotional regulation, model resilience yourself, and encourage the open communication while getting them outside for some nature therapy is amazing. Now, beyond teaching individual tools, it's also important to create a resilient environment at home. A strong support system, whether it's family, friends, or teachers, plays a huge role in helping children feel secure. And when children know that they feel secure, when we have their back, or a good friend or a network of people love them and support them, they are more likely to take risks and try new things and bounce back from failures. Another way to build resilience is through routine. Consistent, predictable routines create a sense of safety and stability for the children, which is crucial for their emotional regulation and growth. So you can start small, maybe with a daily check-in or bedtime reflection where you ask your child about the highs and lows of their days. This helps them process their emotions and teaches them to reflect on their experience in a healthy way. I know for me, sitting for lunch when my kids come back from school allows me to see and feel and hear about their experiences that day. Rituals like gratitude journaling at the end of the day, conversations can become really powerful emotional anchors as well. You can ask questions like, what made you feel happy today? Or what's something you learned about yourself today? These are moments of reflection that resilience starts to take roots, which is what we want. Okay. So, in conclusion, raising emotionally resilient children does not happen overnight, and it does start with us. But it is something that we can nurture through everyday interactions. And remember, it's about teaching emotional regulation, modeling resilience ourselves, keeping open lines of communication, and building supportive environment that encourages emotional growth. Before we wrap up, here's your challenge for this week. Choose one of the tools we talked about today and implement it with your child. Maybe it's practicing deep breathing. It's going to help you as well as a parent. Or maybe it's having that bedtime check in. Start small and you'll be amazed at how these small steps do add up. So, thank you for joining me today on Raising the New Earth. And if you enjoyed this episode, I'd love for you to share it with a friend or leave a review. And don't forget to tune in next time when we'll be exploring more and more and more. Until then, I am Noah Dory, and this is Raising the New Earth podcast. I'll see you later.